Hello to everybody, and a very, very warm welcome to Tonja, who's my special guest today on this live. So, Tonja, I'm so excited about this because this is actually we've worked together, but it's actually the first time that we've spoken, which kind of sounds a bit weird.
Yeah.
Uh, because I was on one of Tonya's amazing, I don't know, what would you call the thing that we do? We called it Expansive Entrepreneur.
Yeah, yeah. It was like a portal to expansion and to, yeah, inviting in more, I think, really, and experiencing more and just kind of up leveling our energy to receive more. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what I can tell you was it was absolutely wonderful. I absolutely loved it. I'm using the videos that you did, I would say almost every single day. So that's been amazing.
I love that. Thank you.
And they're really helpful. I'm like, oh, I need Tonja.
That's lovely. Well,
So when my group asked for someone to bring on as get that deeper spiritual connection, you were just sprung to mind absolutely immediately. And I'm so glad that you've been able to join us. So can you give a little bit of your background, Tonya? It would be lovely for our audience to find out a bit more about you.
okay. So I'm a spiritual mentor for entrepreneurs, and I help them to connect with all that they are and release all that they're not. And yeah, this is like my passion. I absolutely love the work that I do. And yeah, I work with one-to-one, I work with groups. And I started this journey. Well, I actually started a little tiny business about 15 years ago, a healing business at home. And I brought everything kind of together and online about 5 or 6 years ago, something like that. But my spiritual journey has been really quite interesting. I was a very intuitive child, very tuned in to auras, could predict and would predict a lot of kind of global events that would happen. I would see spirits and be like a very clear channel for mediumship. And, you know, a lot of people kind of knew that about me, that I was like really, really good at that. I just did it naturally, would describe people, you know, get the details. I wasn't even kind of phased by it or blown away by it, just was, you know, I just was that. And then when I got older, you know, I was still very sort of tuned in, read lots of books. But in my early 20s, I felt like I didn't have space for it anymore. I began a family and I have 4 children, and I kind of devoted all my energy to bringing them up and kind of shut the energetic doors to more. It just felt like it was so full, I didn't have even an inch more of energy to kind of focus on anything else, which was a real downfall because I didn't really kind of look after myself fully, didn't really tune into what I needed, which so many women do. They kind of put themselves on the back burner and
So true.
don't to their own desires, their own needs. And that's exactly what I did. And I had a sort of a recurring back issue and really quite debilitating at times. And there was a time when I went to the chiropractor and I actually had to crawl out of the car on the pavement. I mean, it was ridiculous, actually. I can't believe I let myself get to that point, but I was in such a physically really bad state. And then I started going to see this amazing osteopath, and we had one session. And at this point, I wasn't remotely kind of tuned into spiritual world. Sorry, this is quite a long answer.
It's okay.
Anyway, after the first session, I was really violently sick. And he rang me up and he said, I'm not spiritual at all, but I realize that I've kind of dislodged something, or like something has happened energetically with you. I can't treat you anymore. I'm going to send you down to this guy who's a chiropractor at the bottom of town. And, you know, I've had a word with him, and he thinks he'll be able to help you.
Brilliant. How ethical that is. Love that.
Yeah, it was amazing. And I think I kind of freaked him out because I was had such a reaction to the work, and he was like, whoa. So I went down to this other guy, and he was he was amazing. He was very medically trained, but very, very intuitive. So
Mm.
this is where my journey really began, is I started to kind of open up the doorways, open up the portals, and I started to see colours again. I started to see auras again. I started to get a lot of information coming through, and it started to really, really like come in a lot. And he kept saying to me, "You must train to be a healer." And I was like, oh God, no, like it's not for me. I can't do that. And he was like, no, no, you really must. And I was like, no, like I'm not that kind of person. Like I'm really grounded. I'm really down to earth. Like I don't want to be doing that. And then one time he was running late and there was a waiting room. And so it was sort of like one door in this side and an exit over this side. And he was maybe 20 minutes late. And while he was treating the person in there, I could see and feel everything that was going on for her. I knew what she looked like. I knew what her problem was. I knew what had happened to her. I knew what she needed. I knew the whole thing. And I went in and I was like quite flustered. And I said, I saw it all. I saw everything. And he said, that is it, Tonja. I am going to insist that you go and see a healer and train. He was French and there was a bad accent, but
I
he
was
was
going to ask which accent it was.
sorry. But he was the most beautiful guy and he was so insistent and he gave me these books and he gave me these numbers of people to connect with. And that's really how it began. It was, yeah, then before my hip and my back got better, it got worse. And I went back to the doctor and the doctor put his hand on my shoulder and he said, I'm so sorry to tell you, but you're going to be in a wheelchair by the time you're 50. And not only that, you will be on really, really heavy duty painkillers. And I was like, that's not for me. And he said, well, I'm going to insist that you come for tests and everything. Anyway, so I went down to the bottom of town to see my healer chiropractor. And he said, don't go, because if you go and you see the evidence, you will believe it.
Mm.
Said, don't go. So I didn't. And I just carried on working with him and I'm fitting well, I'm healthy. And yeah, like it was a real turning point for me, but it was a real, it's almost like spirit came knocking on my door and was like, you must listen, you must do this. This is just like you're blocking out your biggest gift. So it was a massive awakening for me. So I had to follow this and that is really how it all began. So and now I'm kind of bringing back all of the things that I used to be able to do so naturally. I can still do them really naturally and it's amazing to me that I have not lost that, even though there was a long period of time where I didn't do anything with it. So
Yeah, but then we're always connected, aren't we?
I was connected, yeah.
Always connected. And did you find it came back really, really quickly, Tonja, when you started? Yeah.
It's like as soon as I opened the door and said yes, everything flooded in. And I mean, I had a teacher, a healing teacher at the time, and I used to say to her, like, I feel like I haven't slept for 2 years. That's how it felt because I'd every time I went to bed, I had all of this information coming in. It was huge. I didn't know what to do with it. So anyone that's in that position, get yourself somebody to mentor you because you need the boundaries in place because it can be so overwhelming to start with and you can feel like you're going a bit crazy. I felt like I was going a bit mad, but actually it was the beginning of something incredible. But at that time I was a bit frightened of it because it felt so huge. So yeah, that's the story thus far.
And it's wonderful. And I can say you're definitely not in a wheelchair because I've seen Tonja dancing around on videos,
Yeah.
not on TikTok. Well, I don't know. I've not seen you on TikTok, but anyway, we do have a couple of people listening in. So if you've got any questions as you're listening in, please do comment, and Tonja will be able to answer those questions. But if we're looking at somebody who perhaps they're just getting started with their spiritual journey, but they want to go deeper. And they're going, oh my goodness, wow, that just sounds like that's where I'd want to end up, where Tonja is, and you can channel and you can see things.
Yeah.
Can everybody do that? Is that a possibility for everybody? And then B, how do you start to tune in? Is it a practice you need to do? How does that work, Tonja?
Everyone can do it. If you're feeling like you want to, then it's for you. I really feel that really strongly. The greatest thing that someone said to me once is intention is everything. So whatever it is that you do, it's less about how you actually do it. You can meditate walking, you can do, there's so many ways you can do something. It's not about how you do it. There are no rules. It's more about your intention.
Mhm.
That's the greatest thing. And for me, how I started was guided meditations, because I couldn't just sit there, because I'm a very sort of busy person. And I was just like, oh, come on, what am I supposed to be doing? But when I started to I actually went to classes and dropped into a space with somebody there. And I started to really look forward to this space of dropping in and dropping into myself.
Mm.
And like I hadn't done it for decades. And I think this is the key point, is dropping into ourselves and listening to what we need, listening to, our inner guidance. And we can be so looking to the outside world to,
External. Yeah.
and actually we know them all along. So if you're just starting out, definitely the first thing to do would be to meditate in whatever way suits you, but just come to quiet, come to quiet for yourself. And yeah, like I say, starting with guided meditation can be a really good tool to kind of help you, to guide you to how to do that, dropping in and going deeper. So yeah, that would be the guidance I would give, to really coming into your center first. That's the first thing, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. And so by dropping in, you're meaning going inside yourself and thinking
Yeah.
internally rather than what's going on externally, because there's so much going on externally and everybody's wanting your attention, and giving yourself that space that you're talking about. And would you say doing that at a specific time so that you get into a habit of doing that would be a good idea, Tonja?
Personally, I think it's good to do like first thing in the morning and last thing at night. That's my preference. It doesn't have to be long, but there is something about a rhythm. I agree. But it doesn't have to be, there are no rules. If it works for you best to do it as and when, that's fine for you. But if you're creating a rhythm, yeah, like your whole being is like, oh great, it's that time again where I can switch off and just listen. And there's so much that wants to be said to us. I think that's the thing. It's like a magic wonderland in there when we like first go in and we're like, wow, like I think we forget to drop into ourselves. Yeah.
Mm. And I think it's also part of self-care, isn't it? Just being able to sit with yourself in quiet, in space, without any distractions,
Oh,
and just be.
just be. Yeah. Yesterday I had a power cut for 9 hours, unexpected power cut. So I couldn't work, couldn't do the washing or the hoovering. I couldn't do any online courses, nothing. And I had a moment of thinking, oh, like panic. What should I, oh, I don't know what to do with myself. Like, I need to resolve this. I need to fix this. And then, by sort of, so it started at 8 a.m. By 10 a.m., I was like, oh, this feels so good. Like, no distractions from myself. I couldn't look at my phone. No one was asking me anything. My phone was silent, and I was really reminded. I think the phone is a big distraction from ourselves, and we don't know the magnitude of that distraction goes beyond just having a glance. It sort of infiltrates our energetic system, and it can create this kind of anxiety in our nervous system, and make us kind of forget. Anyway, I just thought I would bring that in because it felt kind of important. So
Mm.
yesterday I remembered, and I've got a strong practice of coming back to myself and meditating. But yesterday I was like, wow, this feeling of, it was even like greater than being on holiday, because it was like, I can't do anything. Like I can't. So I have to just completely relax. and it was amazing. So yeah, I would invite everyone to have a day of no phone. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
okay, so if somebody's gone and they're perhaps doing that already, or they start to do that, what would be another way to, perhaps if they're wanting to connect with their guides, how would they start to do that? Because that's something when I first heard about it, I thought, oh, that's for other people that are special,
Yeah.
right? That's not for me. I couldn't possibly do that. But I can do that now. And I'm like, okay, now the next step will be to actually sort of hear and see things that I really feel like it's happening. But even that step, Tonya, so what would be the next step on from just going and looking introspectively and having that calm space for yourself a couple of times a day?
Yeah, I'm getting the tingles for you, for all your guides. Yeah. Oh, I think, like creating a little ritual to invite in guides is really lovely. And what I do is I light my sage every morning, and it's a whopper.
I was
Um,
going to say that's a big one.
yeah, yeah. And I just invite in higher guidance, light beings to support me and to show me what I need today to help me do my best. So I just make that intentional connection. Now, guides will come to you in all sorts of different ways. They might start coming to you through your dreams. This is a really good portal for guides, for higher information to come in. And I used to put a little note under my pillow. Please show me my next step. Or, what shall I do about this? Put it under my pillow, go to sleep, and I would always get the guidance. So it's where we are so relaxed that we just allow it to come in. And that is like a really magical way of connecting with guides. And, we can start by noticing how they like to communicate with you. It might be they like to leave you a white feather, or they might love to wake you up on particular numbers, particular times, or maybe, 111 is a special number and you see it everywhere on the bus, on the clock, and that's confirmation. Oh, we're here. We're here. And so there's just so many, or maybe it's rainbows, there's just so many ways that guides like to come in. And quite often what I'll do is I'll say, okay, I'm asking for guidance now, show me something, and I'll be guided to a book. And okay, what page? Stop. Okay, which line? 10. And I'll just read that and it'll be like, oh, it's like the perfect message for me. So play around with ways that you can communicate with your guides, because it's less about your guides and it's more about you and how you best receive information. They can stand right in front of you if you can see them, but if you can't, then they'll come in all sorts of other ways. So yeah, you might hear, like a lot of people hear things. I started off with smelling a lot of things. So I would suggest getting a diary. If you're really kind of keen, getting a diary and starting to notice patterns and kind of similarities and things that are happening. So noticing that, I used to get a cigar smell. I'd be like, okay, I think that's this guide. Is that right? And I would use my pendulum alongside this. So I would be confirming to myself. And then I would even sometimes like sit down with a bit of paper, do some free writing. Okay, channel through me, and just letting yourself kind of be open to receive all of that. There's so many ways and it's so magical. And I think it's like, don't get attached to necessarily seeing colors or hearing. Don't get attached to anything and just see what happens, because what does happen is it grows. And you will maybe start, like I started smelling first, then seeing, I could sense them, and now I just see and hear them like all the time. It just gets stronger and stronger. So looking out for what works best for you, I think, and also where, like you might find that it's not in your house, but it is out for a walk in the country, and that's when you get your best kind of information. You kind of know they're there. Okay. And you can even like speak out loud. Okay, I know you're here, so just give me some feeling on my next steps. And you can give them some questions. Is it this? is it this or is it this? And noticing what you feel in your body. So for me, like when my guides come, there's always a bit of a heart race. I always get a bit of a feeling on the top of my crown. If there's a lot of them, sometimes they're like stroking my face, tapping me on the shoulders. They all have like their own little system that works, and it's kind of noticing that and just taking notes and yeah, seeing the similarities, seeing the patterns, starting to become aware of it, and you'll be able to join up the dots and know who smells of this and which one stamps their feet and who brings you the feathers, so you can kind of get, and then you start, oh, I've got a team, I've got my spirit team is here, and it's really amazing. So
So do you find you have names for your guides, or and if you do, how do those names come to you?
yeah, they drop in their names. So I work with a collective now called We Are One, and that's really exciting. And sometimes, so I have a membership group called High Love, and we I channel We Are One for them, but also occasionally individuals from We Are One will come in and it's like doing a TED talk. They like speak through me and give information to them. So I just receive the name, but I did used to like almost like write out a whole alphabet and then be drawn to which letter next, and even pendulum it sometimes, or use the pendulum to confirm it. And to be honest, it doesn't matter. Like, it matters to us because we like to, but it doesn't matter to them. Like, there's no attachment to that. There's no, you can call them what you like. It doesn't matter really. So that's more for our humanness to kind of make sense of things and to be able to feel familiar. For them, it doesn't
I
matter.
love that. So it could be guide one smells of this, guide two strokes my face, guide three pats me on the head.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
and then you've spoken about the pendulum quite a few times. So share a little bit more about what your pendulum is, if you would, Tonya.
Yeah, I love to use pendulum. I particularly used pendulum in the beginning when I didn't fully trust myself. Now, it's actually in the entrepreneurial journey, what I used to do is I'd be like, "Oh, I don't know what price to charge." So I used to write, what's my bottom price? What's my top price? Tear up 5 bits of paper, and I'd look at them and think, right, I know which one feels really good here, but I can't trust myself. And then I would screw the bits of paper up, mess them about, and then I'd ask my pendulum which one is best. So, and then usually it would give me two. And I'd be like, okay, but which one for now? Or which one is for my highest and greatest good? And, my pendulum will always be very clearly yes or no.
So,
Yes.
share with me what your pendulum looks like. What does that look like? Can you show us, or
Um,
okay if you need to get up and walk around?
yeah, it's usually right here.
I was going to say, you could probably put your hands on it normally.
Oh, here we are. Okay. So, to be honest, again, it doesn't matter what it is. Okay. So, like, I've got some lovely crystal pendulums that I sometimes use, but equally, like, I've used this necklace before. It, it but you kind of like, it's coming into your center, asking your pendulum, okay, are you happy for me to ask you some questions? Show me yes, show me no. Are we good to go? Okay. And then you start. And this is currently my pendulum, which I love. My brother actually made this for me. It's glass.
Oh, it's glass. I was going to say it looks like wood. It's
Yeah,
glass.
yeah, no, it's glass. And it's just got a lovely weight to it. So it just gives me a really nice, clear, and I come into a space of neutrality before I ask. And it's always much clearer if I'm asking for somebody else. If I'm asking for myself about something I'm really emotionally connected to, I will often say to my friend, can you just ask your pendulum yes or no for my question? Just
Um,
to kind of back up my answer. I know my pendulum's given me the answer, but I just want to make sure that I haven't made that happen because I'm trying to sway it to say yes, so yes, so I just tune in. I always carry my pendulum. Another thing that I do is do Do you do that one? You pull
No. Oh, is that like muscle testing?
like muscle testing. So I'll do that if I'm like in the health food shop looking for new supplement, for example. Is it this one? And you'll feel if it's like a close, it's yes, and if it slips through, it's a no. That just works for me, but it's easy, quite easy to do rather than getting my pendulum out on every single. But I find that to be really, really good. And another thing is the muscle testing, or even using your body as a pendulum. It's just
Oh,
standing up and just, okay, like, so I will start with something like, is my name Tonja? And then I know whatever that is, which is a yes for me, is forward. Okay, that's yes, right. Is my name Brian? No, definitely not. And then we'll begin. And then
okay.
I'll
So you
just,
feel yourself leaning backwards.
yeah,
With the yes, you felt yourself leaning forwards. Okay.
yeah. But I come to a space, first of all, of, okay, neutral.
Sure.
Okay, now we can begin. So it's always just having that intention before we do anything. I think that's just the key, really, is the intention. It's like people always talk about rituals and magic, and all these things are amazing and so special, but without intention, they're nothing. And equally, just with the intention, we can create amazing magic with none of the other, parts of that ritual, just with the intention. So it's important to kind of just remember that we're really powerful beings,
Yeah.
just as we are,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, absolutely. And so, just quickly to explain, we still, if there's, I keep on looking here just to see if there's any comments, which I
yeah,
can't see that there are. So we haven't got any questions. We're obviously doing really well, Tonja, because you're answering everyone's questions. With the muscle testing, if you've not heard about it, it is very strong and tight. It's like a kinesiologist if they're trying to push your arm down and it's good for you. If it's not good for you, it'll go down. It goes weak. It's the same with this. If your fingers here go weak, then it's not so good, right? Is there another way you can muscle test apart from that on yourself?
you can just do it on your finger, but yeah, that's the one that I use the most. Are there other ways? There will be loads of other ways, but I'm not entirely sure.
Don't worry too much. It was
But
just
I think you can even push your own arm down and use that one. I've just always used this one, and
that
it's
one. Mm.
and it's subtle, so I can do it in public. Yeah, that's my public check. So, yeah,
Oh, okay. So just to round up, this has been wonderful. I've really enjoyed it, and I'm sure everyone who's been listening in and who will be listening in on the replay, because I know we're going to get a lot of listeners on the replay, and if they've got questions, then obviously they can come back to you,
yes.
and I'll let you know. And would you say anything else to somebody who's getting started? You spoke a little bit about writing, which I'm assuming you mean automatic writing. Yeah. And again, that was one of my very first ways getting into that, which I found absolutely amazing. And in fact, I did some this morning, oddly enough. I thought, oh, I haven't done that for ages. I just felt like the right thing to do. And how that would work, because I was taught to drop into my heart space, come out of my head, so there's nothing there. And then I have my journal in front of me, and I just started by wiggling my pen.
Yeah,
And then suddenly a word would come to me, and the word this morning was all. So I wrote the word all, and then the next word came, and then suddenly it just goes off on its own.
yeah,
Is that the way that you would just kind
yeah,
of explain it?
yeah. And sometimes what I might do in my journal is write a few questions and leave a big space. So, yeah, how can I da da da? What if I do this? Da da. And then I'll drop into my neutral space, put my pen to paper, and let it go. And it's a bit like when I'm channeling. I've no idea what I write, what I say. People will come to me and say, "Oh, you said this, this, and this," and I have no idea what I said. No idea at all, because it's not me. And that's the same with the automatic writing, is it's not you. So it's like, get yourself out the way and just like focus on, okay, please bring me through what I need, and just let it go. And then you read it back, and sometimes you read it back, oh my God, that's like gold. Wow. It's amazing what you can, yeah, I mean, channeling is so amazing and it's such a gift. And I recommend everyone to explore channeling, because one thing I've really, really noticed about channeling regularly is that you feel so much bliss all day, every day. Like I'm in constant joy and bliss. I'm not exaggerating. Like, even though, I'm a regular person and with regular crap going on, I still am in that place of joy and bliss all the time. And I'm pretty sure it's because I'm so sort of like connected to my guides and so connected to everything and then so in trust that, yeah, like I just am always in that space. So I feel really happy. I'm really, really healthy. So there's a lot of kind of knock-ons of dropping into yourself, tapping into higher guidance, tapping into your higher guidance. There's a lot of really positive ripples of that, I think, even if you don't take it anywhere except just to yourself. It's like such a gift to yourself, and it helps to make so much sense out of your life, and it gives you so much guidance that you wouldn't tap into otherwise. You wouldn't really, sometimes some of the things my guys have asked me to do, and I've been like, I'm not really sure about that. And then they'll come in again and like, go on, do it, do it. You want to, you're just a bit afraid. Yeah. And then I'll do it and they'll be like, oh my gosh, that was brilliant. That was amazing. Thank you. So I recommend it. Yeah, just dropping in and listening as well, listening to things, not just listening to yourself or listening to your guides, but listening to inspirational channelings or higher frequency channelings. Maybe you find somebody who does light language, for example, whatever, but it's that kind of frequency that kind of unlocks something in us that makes us feel like this lightness and like, all of the possibilities are open and available. And that's the kind of energy that they want to give us.
Mm. So is there just one last question before we head off? Is there one particular person that you tune into that that you would recommend if somebody's like, well, I wouldn't know where to start with that? Is there someone that you go, oh, well, this person would be good to listen to?
Oh, yeah, Abraham Hicks, I love. And I'm actually going to see them next year, which I'm really excited about. And they just have, it's a purity, I think. It's a pure energy. And I think if and that's what you channel when you are channeling, you channel pure energy. If you set the intention to connect with high frequency beings for your highest and greatest good, like you can't go wrong. And so, yeah, listening to them, I've got a few others on Instagram sometimes that I listen to. It just is that, or what's that guy called? There's a guy that I listen to as well. He channels the Z's. Don't know if you know who I
Don't
mean.
know what you mean.
Mm,
Sarah Landon is one I know. Do you know her?
I don't know her or him. I've forgotten his name. Anyway, I might message you with that if it comes to me.
Yeah, yeah.
There are a lot out there, and it's whether you kind of match on their vibration, which just for our human selves, but you can feel the energy, and the energy itself is so expansive. And it's not really what people say in channeling, although that can be helpful, but it's more about the energy. That's what's so healing, and it really is reminding us of our power, our potential, our amazingness. Yeah, so it's quite a gift to channel, to receive channeling, to listen to channeling. It's quite amazing because it's high frequency. It's not this dense earthly stuff that we're all dealing with as humans right now. So yeah, takes us out of it really. And
Yes, yes, yeah. Takes us off this mad, mad world that we can find ourselves in a spin in sometimes. Oh my goodness.
yeah,
And so I know you mentioned earlier you have a Facebook group that people can come into. That's a free Facebook group. If you just share that, Tonya, because I'm sure some people would like to hop in and have more of you.
thank you. It's called Sacred Soul Space.
Sacred Soul Space.
I can send you the link if you want to. You're in there, Lucy, aren't you?
I'm in the
Yeah,
way.
so I can send you the link to that, and if you want to share that, yeah, great, that'd be lovely. I'd love to welcome anyone in. We have a lot of free stuff that goes on in there, so it's good place to connect. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. It's been amazing. Thank you so much for your time and your beautiful energy.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Lucy. It's been really, really lovely. I've loved it.